What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content today. Most glorious of days, one of my favorite classes, at least in flavor, the Ranger, is here in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and we're here to talk all about him. Remember, guys, if you're liking what you're seeing, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and today, this episode of your Pathfinder 2nd Edition preview content was brought to you in part by Tommy and Nagase. My friend, thank you so much for your help. Now, let's get to it. So the blog starts out with a pretty big bombshell. We're just gonna dive right into it. Quote, for the Pathfinder playtest, we decided to cleave closer to the core principles of the Ranger, a rough and tumble warrior in the wild, possibly of the wild himself. Because of this, the most significant change we made to the class was that it no longer has spellcasting ability, at least as a default. They also state that they're trying this out just for the playtest, and it might change. However, that's a pretty big bombshell right off the bat, and it's also one that I kind of saw coming. Now, in Pathfinder 1st Edition, the Ranger was either the best martial class you could play, or the worst, depending 100% on the environment. A Ranger, of course, in 1st Edition had a special ability called Favored Enemies, which allowed him to gain a bonus on attack and damage that would scale, but only against a small group of enemies. The same was true for terrains, so if your ranger really likes to fight goblins in the forest, he'll be better at it mechanically than the fighter before any other buffs, but his downfall was if you're fighting something along the lines of dragons in the Darklands, all of your bonuses, unless you are specifically spec'd into fighting that particular kind of thing, go to the wayside, with the exception of the spell Instant Enemy, which allowed you to treat whatever you targeted as your highest favorite enemy. The Ranger also would choose a certain fighting style to be better at than other fighting styles, and through this, the Ranger would see himself get bonus feats to be the best archer, the best two-weapon fighting guy. My favorite part about that Ranger is that he could take the two-weapon fighting feats without meeting the prereqs. No dex, you're good. Anywho, moving forward with the blog, quote, first and foremost, the Ranger is a hunter, which is probably my favorite variant of the class. It's probably my favorite of the hybrid classes because it just kind of did everything the Ranger did a little better. In Pathfinder 1st Edition, you pick creature types or subtypes that you were skilled at hunting. This time we made the Ranger hunting ability a bit more flexible, based on some popular ideas from the Guide archetype and the Slayer's studied target. Now, I've heard good things about the Guide. Personally, I'm more of a skirmisher myself when I play a Ranger, but I think they stack. Not entirely sure off the top of my head. Anywho, we digress a whole bunch. At first level, Rangers get the Hunt Target feature. It requires you to be able to see or hear the target. You designate a single creature within 100 feet as your target and focus your attacks against that creature. While hunting that creature, you gain the benefits for focusing your attacks as long as all your attacks in a round are against the target you're hunting. The multiple attack penalty you take on the second attack is -4 or -3 with an agile weapon. Ooh, and there we see the two-weapon fighting build. Instead of -5 and -8 or -6 with an agile weapon, instead of -10 on the third and any further attacks in the round. Okay, so that clears that up. I was never quite sure if we kept just stacking -5s on forever and ever. That seems a little less scary. Also, guys, we found the two-weapon fighting character. We've definitely been talking about that, myself and some of you guys out there in internet land watching. Now we see how they're doing it. You also ignore the penalty for making ranged attacks against the target you're hunting within your second range increment. Ugh. You also gain a +2 circumstance bonus to perception checks when you seek your target, and a +2 circumstance bonus to survival checks when you track your target. You can only have one creature designated as the target of your hunt at a time. If you use Hunt Target against a creature, when you already have a creature designated, the prior creature loses the designation and the new target gains the designation. In any case, the designation lasts until your next daily preparation. So here's a picture of Harsk in the Pathfinder playtest with his double axes and his crossbow. Wait, he didn't have double axes before. Before he had a dwarven war axe, I had always assumed is what that was. And there it is right there. Two-weapon fighting, selling it home. Also, I think I like that quite a lot. That feels sort of like the Smite Evil of Pathfinder 1st Edition's Paladins, slapped on the nature guy, which I like the nature guys more than I like the religion guys. Blame it on the many years spent living in the country and playing out in the woods when I was a kid, I guess. Hashtag green faith. Also, I don't know exactly how range increments are going to function in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. We have to be within 100 feet to designate, but back in the day, a longbow once you composited it up, was 110 on its range increments, so that means you could fire up to 220 feet away with no penalty. That's super good, and that's even better if the weapons you're wielding, like say you're wielding 2 daggers or something and you want to chuck one, or perhaps even like tomahawks or any kind of anything like that, the build becomes viable, the build becomes versatile, the build becomes something we can play with. That's so cool. Next, we see several class feats that the Ranger will receive that augment hunt target. First off, at 17th level, the Masterful Hunter feature decreases the Ranger's multiple attack penalty to -3 or -2 with agile weapons with his second attack, and -6 or -4 with agile weapons on his third or further attack, and he can ignore the penalty against the target of his hunt in his second or third range increment. Okay, so if we're assuming like a throwing axe has a range increment of 10 feet, you can, within point blank shot range, be a throwing weapon character. That's so cool. Of course, this assumes that he has at least master proficiency in the weapon he's using, which probably is not that big a deal by level 17. Yeah, okay, I am so down. The Ranger also gains weapon mastery for a group of weapons, though he gains it at 13th instead of 3rd like the fighter. At 19th, he gains the Swift Target feature, which allows him to use Hunt Target as a free action triggered before he makes his first strike each round, so he's never without a target. Holy crap. This is really good. I am so down for this. Anyway, moving on as I'm fangirling real hard here. At 5th level, he gains Trackless Step. At 7th level, he gains Evasion, followed by Improved Evasion at 15th. He gains Nature's Edge at 7th level, which allows him to treat enemies in natural difficult terrain or in difficult terrain resulting from a snare as flat-footed. At 11th level, he gains the Wild Stride feature, which allows him to ignore or minimize the effects of difficult terrain. That's really cool. That's strictly better, in my opinion, than Woodland Stride, which honestly I'd always interpreted as doing what Wild Stride seems to do. 4 foot of snow on the ground. Dude, I have Woodland Stride. I'm good. As I'm chest deep in snow and going to die of hypothermia. No, we've got this. I'm moving at full speed. Anywho, next up we've got some class feats. Specific Ranger feats allow him to gain an animal companion at the same progression as a druid's, though potentially with special benefits that only a Ranger can obtain. Other feats will enable him to further focus on his weapon choice, including a whole string of feats that allow him to specialize in 2-weapon fighting. You heard it here first, guys. This is the 2-weapon fighting character in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which makes him actually playable across all sorts of playstyles, and you're not just super sad that you respect to fight humanoid humans, but it's been native outsiders the entire time. On that note, it was so much easier to just pick native outsider, because that targeted so many things, whereas every individual humanoid had to be chosen. Humanoid human, humanoid elf, etc., etc. Rant over. Let's look at some feats. First up, we've got Monster Hunter. At feat level 1, when you critically succeed to identify a target you're hunting with Recall Knowledge, you and your allies, if you tell them, gain a +1 circumstance bonus to your next attack roll against it, but not against other creatures of that species. The creature is bolstered. Not sure what that means, but a +1 to hit for the squad, not bad. Feat level 4, we've got Scout's Warning. The trigger is you are about to roll Perception for initiative. You audibly or visually warn your allies of danger, granting them a +1 circumstance bonus to their initiative rolls. Everyone's faster because you're here. Yep, okay, I'm sold. Some of these classes were kind of out of left field for me, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I feel about how we're going to do Rage moving forward. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you didn't hear about all the changes to the Barbarian, follow this card right up here. But, what? This is so cool. Anywho, the next feat we see at 12th level, Distracting Shot, allows a Ranger who hits a target with 2 ranged attacks in the same turn to leave that creature flat-footed until the start of the Ranger's next turn, which helps the rogues get the sneak attack. It helps, honestly, it helps everybody critically hit that much more, because that's how crits work in 2nd edition. Just gotta get 10 over AC. Now we've nuked it by 2. Super sweet. Anyway, next up and last up today, we're looking at Snares. Quote, like alchemy, the ability to create snares is granted by a general feat, snare crafting. And like alchemists, Rangers have the potential to lift general snare crafting to greater heights. Now, this is pretty exciting for me. I did play a Slayer for a long time in a home game. We cheated his alignment restriction, but he was a bloody Jake, a really fun Slayer archetype, by the way. Turns out ventriloquism is really strong. Regardless, it got Craft Ranger Trap as a bonus feat, and I was always trying to make it work, but it never seemed really that viable, or at least it'd always be better to just go attack them with my throwing axes. Anywho, snares are small, portable hazards, very similar to traps, which can be set up in a short period of time, usually a minute. While it's unlikely that you will set up a snare in the midst of combat, they are perfect tools to arrange a battleground to your advantage. First up, we see the slowing snare. Its snare level is 1, sets you back 2 gold pieces. A square with this snare becomes difficult terrain when the first creature enters it, and then it's destroyed. We also see that other snares will set off alarms, trip, or deal damage to those entering the area, and with some alchemical items, you can even deal more damage with the snare. So does that mean that Harsk and Fumbus are best friends now? Is that what I'm reading? Have the dwarves and goblins finally made peace in Pathfinder 2nd edition? I ship it. Anywho, last up we've got the freezing snare. Its snare level is 8. It'll set you back 50 gold. You set a trio of liquid ice bombs to explode in unison when a creature enters the freezing snare's square. Man, I'm really surprised I said that in one try. The target must attempt a DC 22 reflex save. There should be a space there, Paizo. Anyway, on a success, the target takes 1d8 cold damage. On a crit success, the target is unaffected. On a failure, the target takes 3d8 cold damage and is hampered 10 until the end of its next turn. On a critical failure, the target takes 6d8 cold damage and is hampered 10. Until the end of its next turn. You need 3 vials of liquid ice to craft this thing, but essentially now we're crafting the grenade bouquets of Fallout 3. That I know back in the late 2000s, I died to a whole lot in Fallout 3. Give the alchemist and the ranger 10 minutes, or give the ranger who's got alchemy and snare crafting 10 minutes. Give them an hour. You know what? Let's get to the battlefield really fast and just mess it up for the bad guys. That is so cool. I'm really excited. We also see that ranger feats that deal with snares will allow us to learn more of them. As your crafting rank increases, it lets you set them up faster, even in the middle of combat, noise, and increases their DCs to match your class DC. Yeah, that's really good. That's really cool. This kind of feels like how I thought the ranger would function. I didn't see the slayer as much as I would have seen the hunter in my mind. That's probably because I've played more hunters than I have slayers because, again, hashtag greenfaith. But I'm totally okay with these changes, and I think, to be honest with you, if I get a chance to play Pathfinder 2nd edition during the playtest, I sincerely hope I do, I'm rolling up a ranger because this guy was playable in Pathfinder 1st edition. In 2nd edition, he's going to be playable and also good at stuff. What do you guys think about all this? Are you guys excited for the Pathfinder 2nd edition ranger? Should we bring back spells like how it was in 1st edition? And are we still excited for the Pathfinder playtest out there? Because, hey, sometime the end of today, I'm going to post the winners for our Doomsday Dawn giveaway. Thank you guys really quickly so much for all of your support, both in terms of patronage, in terms of even just people commenting on my videos asking, how am I not as big as I am? Or, dude, you're gonna blow up, keep it up. That really, from the bottom of my heart, it feels amazing. It really does. This channel started with like 200 subscribers when Pathfinder 2nd edition dropped. Now we're pushing 2,000 in the span of a few short months. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. Oh, by the way, our next giveaway will be announced along with the winners for Doomsday Dawn, so that's super sweet. The next episode of your Pathfinder 2nd edition preview content drops this Saturday.